And here's the next question, where it says, can a G3 certificate holder install a gas appliance with an input rate in excess of 400,000 BTUs per hour while under the general supervision of a G1 certificate holder? All right, so we answered the first question in a way that we went back and forth to the rules and whatnot, and I want to do something simpler now. I want to get the rules about the G3 license and put them in one page where it is easier to maybe even memorize. And this is a page. You can take a screenshot, you can take notes. This is what you need to remember. Everything you need to remember is right here. So when we looked in under section 22 of the regulation about the G3 certificate, we saw that the first thing was the scope of work under general supervision. And we said that there were 4 things we could do under the general supervision. And then there was something about direct supervision. There was nothing about no supervision. So if you have a G3 license, you are not supposed to work under no supervision. Obviously, that makes sense because a G3 license is an entry-level license. You want to be trained under someone who has a higher license than you do. Otherwise, it wouldn't make a lot of sense. All right, so let's just repeat. General supervision. Under general supervision, you can install, test, activate or purge gas piping and its component. We talked about that. You can reactivate a previously installed or converted appliance. You can clean and lubricate an appliance. You can clean, remove, or replace a vent connector, venting, or a draft control device. So those are the 4 things you can do under general supervision. See how installing a new appliance is not one of the 4 things. So even if you are under the general supervision of a G1 license holder, you cannot install a new appliance because it's not in this scope right here. Okay, but if you're under the general supervision of a license holder, you can do any of the functions that fall within the scope of the supervising certificate holder's certificate. So under direct supervision, you can install a furnace, new furnace, but under general supervision, you cannot install a furnace because under general supervision, you're not given that scope, that authority. And under no supervision, you're absolutely not supposed to do anything. I hope that makes sense. And therefore, going back to the question, is a G3 certificate holder installed a gas appliance? So installation of a gas appliance with an input of excess of 400,000 BTU while under the general supervision. So no, you cannot, because the general supervision rule doesn't allow you. No, so there the answer is no. However, a G3 certificate holder can install a gas appliance with an input rate of in excess of 400,000 BTUs while under the direct supervision. Okay, so choice number 1A is incorrect because it says yes. So there's no yes. B is incorrect because it says no. However, G3 certificate holder can install that appliance while under the remote video supervision. There is no such thing in regulation. C is incorrect because it says no. However, a G2 certificate holder can install a gas appliance with an input rate of in excess of 500,000 BTUs while under the direct supervision of a G1 certificate holder. That is something to be seen, and you're going to see that why this is incorrect as we move forward. All right, question number 3. The holder of a G1 certificate is permitted to work on a appliance with an input under 200,000 BTU, appliance with inputs up to 400,000 BTU, appliances with inputs from 400 to 1 million, appliances with any input utilizing vapor, propane, or natural gas fuels. So this is a very controversial question because a G1 license holder, as we saw, can work on appliances with inputs under 200,000 BTUs. But the choice A implies that only on appliances with inputs under 400,000 BTUs, under 200,000 BTUs. As a matter of fact, D is the correct answer because a G1 license holder can work on any input. If you look at the G1 certificate holder rule, it says of any BTU input. Of any BTU input. Therefore, D is the correct answer. And some students will say, well, they also are allowed to work, are permitted to work under appliances with inputs under 400,000 BTUs, while A might be right. It's not the correct answer in this context. Please remember that because you might see a question like this. And I am with you in that A is also right, but I don't consider it correct because there is a correct answer right here. Appliances with any input utilizing vapor, propane, or natural gas fuel. Question number 4. The term direct supervision means a supervision by a supervising certificate holder who is on site and is available to assist and supervise the trainee, or supervision by a supervising certificate holder who is available on site to assist and supervise alongside the trainee. All right. Supervision provided by a supervising certificate holder who may or may not be on site. That's not gonna work. Supervision provided by a supervising certificate holder. D is completely vague. Completely vague. So let's have a look at the interpretation under section 1 of the rules, and we go in order of an alphabetical order. So there is your direct supervision, there is the general supervision. Direct supervision means supervision provided by a supervising certificate holder who is on site in close proximity to a trainee and is available to assist. So in other words, in the same room, within an earshot, so you can call them, they can come. That's direct supervision. Therefore, I think the most correct answer would be a supervision by a supervising certificate holder who is available on site to assist and supervise alongside. So I guess the alongside here is replacing the words where it is here close proximity. So alongside is just replacing the words close proximity with regards to regulations. All right. Question number 5. The term general supervision means it will be one of the 4 choices here. Let's just have a look very quickly at the regulations interpretation in section 1 in alphabetical order. General supervision means the supervision provided by a supervising certificate holder who may or may not be on site but who is readily available to assist the trainee. So it could be someone who is reachable on phone, right? That's general supervision. All right. So if we look at the question here, C would be the correct answer. Supervision provided by a supervising certificate holder who may or may not be on site, but who is readily available to assist a trainee. That's going to be the correct answer right there. All right, question number 6. What is the minimum requirement in terms of gas technician certification in order to service a natural gas furnace having an input rate of 120,000 BTUs? A minimum requirement means that what is the certificate but the minimum certificate. So we know G1 can do this and we know G2 also can do this. So which one is the minimum requirements? It's the G2. So I would assume G2 is the correct answer here. We double check. G2, a person who is holder of a G2 certificate may do all this work on appliances that have an input of 400 or less. Okay, under 400 or less. This is without supervision. Okay, but under the direct supervision, a person who is the holder of a G1 certificate perform. Isn't this a typo? Isn't this supposed to be G2? Who is the holder of a G2 certificate perform all the functions that fall within the. Hey, there is a typo on the website. It's time to send them an email. Okay. So what I'm saying is that instead of 1, it should say G2 here. So under the direct supervision, which is what we care about, of a person who is the holder. Oh, sorry. My English. Sorry. No. Under the. So, okay, so what this is saying that if you are under the direct supervision of a person who is the holder of a G1 certificate, so if you're under the G1 license, direct supervision, then you can do it. Sorry, my bad. So here's another visual of how G2 certificate is interpreted in the regulation. Under no supervision, you can do your 400,000 BTUs or less. Under direct supervision, you can do whatever the license holder, supervisor license holder can do. There is no provision for general supervision for the G2 certificate in the regulation. There is no provision for it. It doesn't specify, it doesn't add any authority if you're under general supervision, to be honest with you. So you're either under no supervision or you're under direct supervision for the G2 license. Okay. So in other words, I think what we did here is correct, and G2 is the minimum requirement, to work on 120,000 BTUs. Unsupervised, that is, unsupervised. Question number 7. What is the minimum requirement in terms of gas technician certification in order to install a natural gas water having an input rate of 350,000 BTUs in a commercial building unsupervised? I think it's the same thing because a G1 can do any input. G2 can do 400,000 or less unsupervised, right? That's what we're talking about. And we already said that a gas technician G3 shouldn't do unsupervised. It's a G3 should be under general supervision or direct supervision. Oil burner shouldn't work on a natural gas appliance. Okay, so I guess the minimum then becomes this. This is the minimum according to my logic here, and that's the correct answer. B is the correct answer. Question number 8. What is the minimum requirement in terms of the gas technician certification in order to undertake cleaning a domestic natural gas furnace? Yay! Remember the G3 scope of work, right? G3 under general supervision, you can clean a furnace. So obviously a G1 can do it, a G2 can do it, a G3 can do it, not an oil burner technician. Nothing against OBTs, but oil burner is for oil burner. Okay, so what is the minimum then? G3 is the minimum, and we double check, and yes, G3 is the minimum. And question number 9. Which gas technician certificate is required to service natural gas process boiler having an input rate of 400,000 or 800,000 BTUs? All right. So as a reminder, a G1 can do any input. G2 can do 400,000 or less. And this guy can do anything under general supervision, but under direct supervision. This guy here under direct supervision, but the question is asking about unsupervised condition, meaning A would be the only choice. The others cannot do 800,000 or and even close to that unsupervised. A then becomes the correct answer right there. Question number 10. Which of the following better represents the functions that a G3 technician is allowed to carry out under general supervision? Let's just remember this. General supervision. Okay. All right. Activate a new appliance? Absolutely not. The initial activation of a new appliance? Absolutely not. Reactivate a previously installed appliance? Yes. D. Activate residential appliances only? No. So reactivate. That's the only thing you can do. Okay. Then C becomes the correct answer right there. Question 11. Which of the following better represents, the scope of work permitted to a person that is holder of a G3? Okay, so this is what we're looking at, a G3, when working under direct supervision. So what can a G3 do under direct supervision? We actually said that in the previous diagram. Carry out any of the functions that fall within the scope of the supervising certificate holder certificate. That sounds right. Carry out any of the functions that fall within the scope of the supervising certificate holder on appliances up to 400,000 BTU. That is an unnecessary restriction. If A is correct, B is going to be incorrect because there's a restriction here that is unnecessary. Install, test, activate, purge gas piping or tubing that is less than 2.5 inches in diameter. That would be right, but it wouldn't be correct because that is something you can do with a G3 under general supervision, right? Same here. So C and D can be done under general supervision, okay? That makes A the correct answer. Again, C and D are right. You can do that as a G3 under direct supervision, but the spirit of the question is asking which of the following better represents the scope of work. So A would be the correct answer, and as you can see here, A is the correct answer. Question number 12. Who is authorized to install, purge, activate, repair, alter, service, and remove liquid propane piping or tubing systems and components? Holy moly, this is called liquid, okay? And the reference here is to section 26.1. So I want you to go to the regulation page website and scroll down to section 26, and you're going to find very quickly that it is an LP. By the way, LP stands for liquid petroleum or liquid propane. Obviously, in this case, it stands for liquid propane. Okay. All right. Moving forward, question number 13. Which certificate holder may inspect an appliance with an input of, this is strange, it's less than 400,000 in Ontario, unsupervised. Unsupervised. Okay. Can a G1 do it? Yes, but not only G1s. G1 or a G2? Yes. G2 only? No. Can a G1 or a G2 or a G3? Obviously not unsupervised. A G3 cannot do it unsupervised. That's not allowed. So then B becomes the correct answer. B is the correct answer. A G1 or a G2 license holder can inspect an appliance with this input rating. Right? Number 14, no one may initially activate a 300,000 BTU input appliance connected to a piping system unless the installation is inspected by a G1 technician or higher. Well, there is no higher than G1. And 300,000 falls under G2 scope anyways. Unless the installation is inspected by a G2 technician or higher. Well, that makes sense because that is G2 and G1. Unless the installation is inspected by a G3 technician. No, G3 technicians cannot do 400 inspection of 400, or they cannot do inspection in general. There is no scope of work that allows them to do inspection. But you're gonna say, what if they are under direct supervision? Okay. Under direct supervision might be correct, but since the question is not saying under direct supervision and choice A is actually correct, I wouldn't pay too much attention to choice C. Unless the installation is inspected by a GP technician or higher, I wouldn't consider that correct. And if you don't believe me, go and find the GP license and see what is their scope of work. So that leaves us with B is the correct answer because it allows for G2 and G1 to inspect the work, okay, before initially activated. All right, question number 14. The holder of a G1 certificate is permitted to work. So G1, right? G1. Only, when you start with only, you're already limiting, and we know G1 is unlimited. It can do any input. So not only, not only, not only, but D, on appliances with any input of in vapor phase. Vapor phase meaning gaseous fuels. Okay, so D is the correct answer. And finally, last question. The holder of a G2 certificate may install and service gas-fired equipment with inputs up to, which means and including, 500, no, 400, yes, 1 million, no, 250, no. The correct answer is 400,000 BTUs. So that brings us to the conclusion of the 16 questions we have. That covers the scope of work for the G3, G2, G1. Obviously, the regulation itself has much more than that, and it is worthwhile skimming through those, at least the names of the certificates. Not, if not the scope, just at least the names of the certificates. Get yourself familiarized with. And now it is time to go and do your Blackboard quiz.